Hey boys and girls, it's Jeff with the Common Sense Camper. I had a couple of requests to do a review on my all-time favorite semi-automatic handgun. And I'll preface this video with the fact that I have a lot of sentimental value attached to this firearm. I've had this firearm for about 12, 13 years. It was the first handgun I've ever owned, and my dad bought it for me. So I have a lot of memories with him and firing that gun at the range and spending time with him. And he also has one as well. So I'm going to say a lot of good things about it. And it definitely warrants saying a lot of good things about it because it's an excellent firearm. But I have a special attachment to this one because it was my first handgun and my dad bought it for me. So without further ado, here it is. The Beretta 92 FS. This is the one that's made in the USA. There's another version of this, very similar to it, and it's made in Italy. It's slightly more expensive. Now, I've compared the two firearms, and I really haven't seen enough difference between the two to warrant the additional cost, but that's just me. A couple features about it. It is a 9mm semi-automatic. Mag capacity typically comes with a 10-round magazine. You can buy a 15-round magazine, and it will still set flush with the grip. You can buy higher capacity magazines for it. I'm just not a big fan of guns that have magazines sticking out the end. That's just my personal preference. Now, I have fired this upwards of 7,500 rounds through it easily. I have fired low grain, high grain, cheap range ammo. Now, I have not fired reloads out of this firearm. I'm not a fan of reloads, and I just don't shoot them out of my firearms. That's my own personal preference. Out of the 7,500 rounds that I've fired out of this weapon, I have had 0 malfunctions. I have had 0 jams. I have had 1 stovepipe. So, and that could probably be attributed to the quality of the ammo, or I may have limp wristed it or done something to cause it to stovepipe, but took the slide back, dropped out the empty cartridge, and I was back to shooting. So very, very reliable handgun. Now, some of the features on the firearm. There's your magazine release. It's a simple round button. I think that's in an excellent place. If you're gripping the firearm as you should with your thumbs forward and your hands wrapped. I have never touched that with my finger while shooting it, and I've never had an accidental discharge with the magazine. It just doesn't come into play. It also has, this gun has been safety checked prior to the video. It also has a slide stop right here. It's a good size lever, and hopefully you can see this. You definitely won't miss it. It's not like the Glock where it's real low profile. That definitely, you can get to that very easily. It has a manual safety. The manual safety has 2 purposes, obviously. One is that it's the safety. It's ambidextrous, so it's on both sides. The other purpose of that safety is once you have loaded it, chambered your round, that weapon is ready to fire. Hammer's back. All I have to do is pull the trigger. Now, if you want to safely decock that hammer, you simply take the safety and pull the lever down. Very similar to the SIG P226. Now, I will tell you that when my dad gave me this gun, I read the manual and learned how to strip it and clean it and all the functions on it. The first time I did that, I said to myself, wow, really? I thought for sure if there was a round in there and I decocked that hammer with the safety, it was going to fire. And I didn't try it until I actually got to the range and was able to point it, down the range and decock that hammer. But I will tell you that is the function. It does work flawlessly, and it does decock the hammer safely. So that is the second purpose of that manual safety. Now, as far as modifications, I've made one modification to this. I put Hogue grips on it. For me, that made it a even more comfortable firearm. Because this is a somewhat heavy and large firearm for a 9mm, there's very low recoil with it to begin with. But with the Hogue grips, it almost disappears. I will tell you, if you put Hogue grips on this, when you take the factory grips off, they're on each one of these screws, there's going to be a washer. Do not reinstall that washer on the Hogue grip. The Hogue grips are wider, and what will happen is that if you put the washer on with the screw and the Hogue grips, it's going to put the screw too far away from where you're screwing it into, and what you'll do is you'll end up stripping it out. So you do not need the washer reinstalled with the Hogue grips. As far as field stripping, this is one of the easiest semi-automatics to field strip. There's a button here, and then there is a lever here that you're just simply going to push down. You push the button in, drop that lever down, and it comes right off. Very simple. I'm going to take it all apart. I just cleaned it. If you couldn't tell, I think I went a little crazy on the oil. Probably don't need that much oil. But the spring comes out, barrel comes out. Very, very simple. To reinstall it, you simply take it back to its original starting point, flip that lever up, and you're back in business. Now, as far as the trigger, when you chamber your first round, the first trigger pull is going to be double action. All the ones after that will be single action. Some people don't like that. I am used to this firearm, so it doesn't bother me. And a lot of people ask, well, how accurate is the handgun? To me, accuracy really doesn't have anything to do with the firearm. I'm a true believer that any firearm, unless the sights are completely messed up or there's a major malfunction with the firearm itself, I feel that any gun that is professionally made by a manufacturer is accurate. I think accuracy is all in the hand of the person shooting it. I know people that say this isn't accurate. I know people that say it's deadly accurate. I think it just depends on whether you like the firearm and if you're comfortable with it. But I will tell you, for me, I am deadly accurate with this firearm. Now, as far as concealed carry, this is a large 9mm. It is pretty weighty, has some weight to it, has very low recoil, which is one of the benefits to it. But if you compared this to, say, a SIG or a Glock 19, what you're going to find is that they're a lot smaller than this firearm. The Glock 19 comes out to about right here on the firearm. The grip length is about the same. I believe the Glock might be a little shorter. The rail on the 9mm is just slightly thicker than the Glock, and the Glock is dehorned up here. What I mean by that is the Beretta has a lot of stuff going on. You have your hammer, you've got your raised sight, you have a manual safety, you have your protruding slide lock. So as far as concealed carry, it's not conducive for that. It's too big, and it just has too much stuff going on with it. However, for home defense and personal protection at home, or as a sidearm while you're hunting, you cannot go wrong with this. And I go to this firearm 100% for home protection. It's very, as I said, very reliable, and it's also my go-to gun as a sidearm when I go hunting. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of information about the 92 to help you make a decision on if it's something that you want to purchase or not. I will tell you this, I would recommend to anyone, if they're looking at a firearm, don't go out and buy one just because you like it. And you got to admit, that's a sexy looking gun. I mean, I like Glocks. I think they're very accurate for me and very reliable, but they're ugly, but they serve a purpose. This is just a sleek, sexy looking gun. I mean, to me, when someone says semi-automatic handgun, this is what I picture in my head. The one that's stainless steel, I think, is just a gorgeous looking firearm. So check it out. Rent one. Rent before you buy. I recommend that highly to anyone. And I've rented firearms that I thought I really wanted. I did all my research on them, and then I went in and tried one out on the range, shot a couple hundred rounds through it, and said, you know what, this is not for me. So again, Beretta 92 FS 9mm, excellent gun, very reliable, great home defense, great sidearm for hunting. Again, this is Jeff, Common Sense Camper, camping out.